individuality, an anti-Christian father, and doctors who want trans athletes in sports. This ain't your mama's podcast. It's the Chico de Manuel Show. Let's get it. I'm firing up right now. You should too. Yeah. Smoking Gary Payton mixed with some other shit. I like Gary Payton. That's what I get from cookies when I go. Wanted to open this show up talking about dating preferences. I was scrolling through Facebook. I wasn't paying that much attention, but it gave me the idea. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. He's one of these ASAP Rocky, Travis Scott looking ass motherfuckers. But, I guess he said he had a preference to date like only white women or only black women. And then he said he was facing backlash. And I thought to myself, who in the fuck should have to face backlash for knowing what they want? That's what preferences are. Knowing what you want. So when you go to the gas station and you get a leaf as opposed to a Swisher. Both of them will encapsulate your weed for smoking purposes just fine. But there's obviously one that's a better experience than the other, depending on which one you buy. Imagine if you were at the gas station, you're like, yo, let me get some sweet aromatic game leaf. And they'd be like, what? You smoke game leaf? Nigga, what type of nigga smoke game leaf? Nigga, why don't you just get a grape Swisher? What the fuck? Now, how the fuck is you gonna smoke leaf woods, nigga? What'd you grow up smoking at? And it's like, now a simple routine trip to the gas station is turned into a fucking, a referendum on why the fuck you're not smoking Swisher Sweets, as if I owe this bum ass stranger any answer whatsoever. Like, I'm not obligated to explain why I do something to you just because it's not what you do. That's why me personally, I don't really even care to talk about my dating preferences like with others. Not even with other dudes. Cause I understand that I'm gonna be subject to either criticism or praise based on my answers. And I feel like none of you motherfuckers were present in my quest to come up or figure out my dating preferences. So why do we need to talk about it? You know? And I'm the type of nigga that got a fetish for trannies. And I'm not really willing I'll talk about it on the podcast because I genuinely don't give a fuck what you people think about me. But just because I don't care what people think about me and I'm a very bluntly honest person does not mean I need to divulge every top secret or every facet of my life just for the sake of having interesting conversation. I will do it, but it's a time and a place for it. And generally right here on this platform is the time and place. Now, why somebody would even face backlash for their dating preferences, to me, I just see that as it's like a form of jealousy. There's some hatred in that. Usually, when the person expressing that does not live up to the preference. Which I also find kind of weird, because it's like, if you know you're not in my bracket, which probably puts me not in yours, why do you give a fuck what I prefer? Like, what difference does it make? You know, do you want to just compare my fucking preferences to a bunch of other niggas you done been around or slept with or did whatever with? Is that what you want? Like, what do you stand to gain? What are you going to do with this information? Why is it pertinent? There should be a 0% of the time occurrence of facing anything that could be remotely defined as backlash for simply expressing how you feel. It's really just a trap. Let's say somebody asks me, yo, Chico, what's your dating preference? Shit, real talk, nigga, shit. You know, I like white girls, bro. Them white girls be thick as hell. But you like white girls? You must be anti-black. Which is actual criticism I've received from countless black women that I knew and didn't know. If I tell them that I just kind of prefer in my ideal partner, girlfriend, wife, whatever, I don't really like the word partner, an ideal woman, I like a contrast of skin color, you know? I like the cultural differences to an extent, you know? It's a lot of things. I could go on and on about this shit. But far too often, I've received what you could call backlash. I've been called Uncle Toms and told I hate myself because I don't want to date black women. And it's not even that I don't want to date black women. I never said I don't want to date black women. Hell, I dated black women exclusively till I was 18 years old. And I went to college and was actually around some fucking white girls. So, I don't know where all that extra shit stems from, that I'm this and I'm that and all that. I know none of y'all really know me well enough to, like, admonish me for my dating choices. But it's like, why do I have to hear that shit? Like, I respected you enough to share my opinion with you for the conversational experiment, for the conversational experience, for the takeaway. And now you feel like you get to, like, reverse ad hominem me? Like, so now because I gave you my input, now we covertly shift the conversation to what's wrong with what I like? Where they do that at? For real. Like, it's none of your business who is in my dating preferences. The type of woman I prefer, the type of woman I don't prefer, the amount of thickness I like in my ass, whether I'm down with the swirl, whether I like trannies, whatever. Like, all of that shit is none of your business. You get to know this 100% of the time, courtesy of me wanting to foster open dialogue and, like, be open in the hopes that other people will open up and share details of their life in a safe space, in a productive space. Not to be criticized or told what's wrong with me based on someone else's not falling into my dating preferences or whatever other reason you can conjure up. I don't give a fuck. When you asked me, what are your dating preferences? And I responded with a meaningful reply, it was not an invitation to tear me down or to critique me. I really don't care. Like, I've been on this earth long enough and experienced enough, seen enough, heard enough to where, like, my preferences are pretty much set. You know, I'm still open-minded as to where they can be improved, like, but it's all fine-tuning from here. It's like, we're not making any more 90-degree pivots. Hell, we're not even making 45-degree pivots. We moving this shit in 5-degree increments here. Like, if a quarter turn, a 90-degree turn was to be considered as just like a shift in my dating preferences. Whereas 90 degree is a whole cardinal direction and 5% is a tick of that. That's how my dating preferences are shifting now. Like, I have to meet someone, get to know them on an individual level, and stumble upon a real profound aspect that can't really just be, like, glossed over. Something that's got to be explained. Something that personalizes an individual beyond any descriptive characteristic. Like, you are just a unique individual, and based on the unique experience I was able to, that was fortunate enough to get from you, I can see how the events of your life or what you share with me shaped the person that you are, and why you are more of a person that fits on the spectrum as opposed to like a switch. Like there's color to you. You're not just black and white. You know, that's the instance. But that all takes getting to know somebody. Which goes back to why I don't care to be criticized for my dating preferences. I'm only answering that question on the grounds that whatever I say, you're going to be happy with, because it's a completely subjective thing. Because somewhere in dating preferences, I hear someone I would like to fuck on for a while. And while I don't judge, I understand everybody's, you know, to each their own. Whatever you like. If it works for you, fine. But me personally, I don't want no fucking Ugg mug. I ain't no Ugg mug. I have my moments where I'm looking bummy and rough and rugged and shit, but I don't want no bummy looking ass chick. Hell no. I don't want no fat, overweight, Botox injected, conceited, vanity obsessed. I don't want any of that shit on a cell phone all goddamn day. Like trying to have one foot in and out of the door of this Instagram model lifestyle shit. I'm not with that energy. I'm not with that shit. And I understand I got energies that women ain't gonna be with. I got a lot of energies that women wouldn't be with. But I got a lot of energies that they would too. I understand I'm a wild boy. And for me to be completely honest with a female is something I do with caution, because that's just the type of nigga I am. I'm not going to drag you into this shit and be halfway with your ass. I'm going to be real with you about who I am, what I do, and where I'm aiming to become, because I expect that out of you. So yeah, I don't even really have dating preferences right now, because at this point I'm swinging for the fences. I will have a .032 batting average if all the hits I got are home runs. Like, I am not trying to get on base. I'm not trying to do no standing on base. I'm trying to hit that fucking ball into the goddamn parking lot and break somebody's fucking windshield. Hell, I'll pay to fix your windshield. But if you park in the lot on the day I'm batting in this stadium, you know, you risk getting your car dented, because I'm smacking anything I touch out of the stadium. That's my dating preference. But as I said, for me to really get in tune and talk about the inner details of my life and whatnot, and you know, in order for me to engage somebody, I'm going to require time and conversation and a space that's congruent and in agreement with the vibe I'm trying to set. You know, dating preferences is not generally dinner table conversation. It's not even locker room conversation. It's an intimate one-on-one kind of thing. And I think people should stop discussing their dating preferences in a forum like social media or something. This is like, it should be held with a little bit of reverence. We should take this shit kind of seriously, because I think this dating trend in America, or the way it's starting to curve, like the direction that dating is in now and is heading in the future, it's abysmal. It's terrible. It's all been watered down to some old, like, you can do better type shit. But you can do better, it possesses a very not so subtle undertone of greed. And I define greed as not just not being happy with what's in front of you. You can have everything right in front of you and it does not satisfy you. You want more than everything you have. And it's not a viable attitude in a dating market. Especially when people can't even handle your dating preferences, not falling within the parameters of one's dating preferences and receiving backlash for it. As long as that shit's happening, there is no dating market worth getting into. Not in America. Courtesy of Thy Black Man. Black Americans, Asian Americans, Mexican Americans, and white Americans. Think for yourself. By staff. And I decided to come back to Thy Black Man because in the doubleheader episode, they had a really, really amazing article that I closed out with. And I'm really glad I saved it for the end, because it was one of the most well-written, truthful and inspiring articles I ever read. So I figured we give them another shot here. So it says, one second. Every day, many of us older adults shake our heads as we watch young people follow the crowd, think in groups, and act or react with little or no individuality. Many of us assume it is because they have not grown into their identity, and that is likely true in most cases. But what we do not realize is that far too many of us who are adults do not think for ourselves either, not anywhere close to the level where we should be. We find it easier to be lazy-minded and entertained while we allow others to make the critical decisions that impact our lives on almost every level. We go to the doctor but act like she walks on water. We blindly follow his instructions without researching pharmaceutical medications, detrimental side effects, and natural or alternative solutions. We take the position, that's what he gets paid for. But believing that a person gets paid to think for you is giving far too much control to someone who does not have you as their top priority. I'm not saying we should ignore doctors. I'm saying we should use every available resource. Doctors, internet, dietitian, books of faith, prayer, friends, family, wisdom, nutritionists, herbalists, etc. Your body is your responsibility before it's anyone else's. We go to the church, the mosque, the temple, or the synagogue, and we blindly follow what the pastor, priest, or imam says without verifying the accuracy of the message nor the context of the examples. This is how cults arise, and people are grossly misled by man-made doctrines and people with hidden agendas. Do we want to trust in others and believe in honest people, or are we simply being lazy because it is easier than thinking? For years, I watched women flocking to get loose at conferences in man-made arenas and men flocking to the same arenas to get power. Neither realized they were already free and empowered because they thought someone else on stage had to walk them through it. Wake up. We follow civil rights leaders based on their dreams, not ours. And while I promote, encourage, and support and applaud unity in the African American, Asian American, Mexican American, white American, and other communities, there is a time when you should be launching your dreams and visions more than celebrating someone else's. But every year, those of us who want to ride along on someone else's dreams, plans, or visions are right there for the march, the parade, and the holiday. What about a march to your mirror, a victory parade of your own, and a celebration of you reaching your goals and dreams? Wake up. Most Americans will never be full-time entrepreneurs, not for lack of money or ideas, but rather because they are programmed drones who trust in the employer more than themselves. They find it safer to let the employer think for them, give them job descriptions, tell them when to eat, what to wear, when to show up, and when to go home. And they are willing to accept far less pay than their potential could acquire. Also, they do not have to think about anything but what they've been told to do. This is the norm, so if I'm speaking about you, you know that you are normal. But if you want to be unique, extraordinary, and outstanding, start thinking for yourself and outside of the box. Yes, you can and are full of potential that your employer is capitalizing on every day of the week. Your employer knows it even if you don't. Wake up. We go to attorneys expecting them to know our rights, tackle the courts, and make everything all right. But too many of our people don't know if the attorney is any good, if she is doing all that can be done, or if there are any other possible solutions. Why not? Because we are letting the attorney think for us. I'm not saying you have to go to law school, but clearly any good attorney will tell you that preventive measures mean knowing your rights, not waiting until you need him to explain them to you. When we were children, we acted as children and we thought like children. We expected our parents to think for us on things we did not know. But when we became adults, we should have started thinking for ourselves and put childish things away. Sadly, refusing to do your research is laziness, and refusing to think for yourself often reflects a lack of confidence in your ability to make decisions. This becomes a cycle of decisions to stay willfully ignorant. You may say you are not informed, then get informed. It is easier to research, fact check, and double check many things today than it has ever been in the history of the world, so you have no excuse. Those who are ignorant and asleep are those who have chosen to stay that way because they allow the comfort of deception to make them think it's safer. once again, just an absolute slam dunk, batting right out of the stadium. This is everything I represent in my life. It's something I feel very strongly about. And at age 31, I feel like I'm ironing out the kinks. Like, I don't really have any kind of experience at the type of success that I'm after. And I'm trying to figure out how to use that to my advantage. You know, even with where I work right now, like I mean, if somebody can pick up from where I work based on what I say and how I talk, great. But I don't really like disclosing where I work and having a podcast at the same time, especially one where I say the things that I say. But hold on, let me regain my thought. We're talking about like why I don't say, oh yeah, well, my job now. Like, I kind of have that attitude where it's like, I know unless I reach some high ranking level of a company or venture off on my own enterprise, I'm playing this game. I'm a part of this rat race. This is where I am now. Until not very long ago, it wasn't something that I concerned myself with very often. You know, I just get up, go to work, fucking get a girl, fuck on that girl until she realizes I'm not living my potential yet, even though I haven't. And she does the correct thing in her situation and she leaves me. And this devastates me and I fucking recover from all that shit. Like this is seemingly the last boss on this brokey phase of my life that I have to encounter. You know, like I've gained enough XP to where like a level up is on the horizon. But that definitely tells me at the same time that I have not leveled up yet. Like, I'm getting close. And I'm realizing how consistent all my behaviors have to be when pursuing a goal in order to achieve that goal. Like, I have to take a series, a persistent and repetitive series of good and sound actions. Even if the bad actions I may want to take may not have serious consequences or like consequences that change my situation, like regardless of the severity of the bad things I do, I just need to not do bad things. And all my behaviors have to somehow line up and translate to me getting there. I cannot half step on the motivation. And I understand that things like motivation, willpower are like not good long-term fuels to base your economy on per se. Like, it's not like let's just say, for example, like if I knew I needed 100 motivation points for at least 5 years. I need 100 motivation points a day for 5 years to reach my goal or whatever. That would be what? It's 365, there's 100, that'd be 365,000 in a year. And I find a source of motivation points that has 400,000 motivation points in it. It's like, even if I was to completely exhaust all those motivation points, once I go through the first 365,000, that leaves me with 35,000 left over, which means I'll barely make it through 2 months of the next year, you know? And I need to find a source of motivation points. This asshole on this motorcycle. I need to find a source of motivation points that's at least like 6 million motivation points. That might not have been the greatest example, but what I'm trying to convey is that I need I need to think more long term. And I'm trying, it's difficult when long term is something that was like talked about growing up, like post adolescence, like 18 and up. It was talked about, but it was never really explained. Like a big chunk of my life was just wasted. Like I had to pump the brakes on myself and like pull back and like go out there and like bang my head way more times than I should have. Like way too many times. Like I know better than a lot of shit. I am not a stupid individual by any means. But I understand how I sabotage myself. I understand self-sabotage. I understand how I get in my own way. I get in my own way a lot, and I'm slowly coming to the realization that you just, I posted this on Facebook earlier, it's just some cakes that you cannot have and eat. There are some cakes in life that require you to either have it or you eat it, but you cannot have and eat your cake. And I was skeptical of that for a long time. And I think finally, just after years of just barking up the tree, especially with drugs, like drugs is what I'm mainly referencing here. But especially like after barking up that tree for so long and just seeing that the fruits of that is none of it. No benefit perceived or actual from these drugs and that lifestyle. No benefit from that is can outweigh the imminent failure attached to it. It doesn't. Like you are voluntarily handing your success away by engaging in certain activities. Like certain activities are seeds simply waiting to turn into evil gardens and poison and kill everything in your other garden. They have evil intentions. These things are intrinsically negative. And that's the kind of boss that I'm fighting in my mind right now. Like, how do I know the evil that I'm confronted with, but be unaffected by it? Be steadfast in times where temptation is in full force. And I tell you, it's fucking hard, man. It's a hard, consistent effort, which requires you to basically almost find a new lifestyle to substitute the previous one you came up with. Not just stop doing certain things, do other things in place of those things to live a more fulfilling life. It's hard. But for me, the premise of living a fulfilling life is totally worth whatever sacrifice to me at this point in my life. Like at this point, I'm willing to accept that my decision making cost me vital time in my life, and I could and should be much better off than I am right now. And that's okay. But playtime is over. Like, I know what I'm disinterested in. And it's time to find some real interest in people that are just more healthy for my life overall. And I also know that not too many people have thoughts and sessions with themselves like I just did right here. Like, because I know what makes me. I am a true individual. I've always been an individual. I've always been kind of rebellious. I've always wanted to know why. I've always hated trends, especially mindless trends. These fucking bugs. So, you know, I think it's a great path. Like, but you got to understand that walking the path as a true individual, like, you will not always be praised for it. Your individuality will not always be seen as a positive trait or something that's welcome wherever you go. Some people want you to just fall in line, blend in with shit, and sacrifice your attributes as an individual for the attributes given to you by the group that you're in. And I don't give a damn what group I'm in. I vehemently refuse to compromise more than just a little bit of what's enough for me to be a part. Like, I can be a mercenary. That's fine with me. But what I won't be is a fucking sellout. I forget who said this, but it's like, if you're going to sell your integrity, if you're going to compromise or sell out your integrity, you better name the right price. And that's how I feel about it. And I feel like if everybody did take the time and just think about shit critically, to like have the mental capacity for a conversation on something other than the fucking Kardashians or Beyonce or Rihanna or some shit like that. Nothing's wrong with those women, but just doesn't make for meaningful, substantial conversation. We can get beyond all that shit. Oh yeah, love to talk to you, but you know, that's why I'm kind of reserved. I'm kind of quiet. I just don't have. I want to talk to other individuals. I don't want to hear shit from brainwashed drones trying to tell me what the world is like, but have never left the fucking city of Detroit. Fuck out of here. Courtesy of Man and Home. They came back speaking like we've been raising them as Christians. Dads threatens to keep kids from religious grandparents. Story by Mike Walters. So I think I need to start announcing this when I am reading an article for the first time on the recording, or when I've already read something and I've stowed it away and I want to revisit it for the sake of talking about it on here. So, and sometimes some of the articles I get are just slideshows. Like, it's like a little paragraph and a picture associated with it. You can kind of tell when I'm reading an article or when I'm reading slides by how much I interrupt. Like on the slides, I tend to comment after each slide. On the article, I tend to read the article in full and interrupt less often. So yeah, they came back speaking like we've been raising them as Christians. Dad threatens to keep kids from religious grandparents. We're reading this together. It says, parenting is a challenging endeavor, particularly for one father who recently took to social media to vent his frustrations, usually a bad idea. In his post, he asked if he was in the wrong for threatening to stop allowing his children to visit their grandparents alone over religious indoctrination fears. Excuse me. Fucking mosquitoes. Okay, so if you have to ask if you're in the wrong for it, that, to me, that tacitly implies some uncertainty on your end. And I think it's nothing wrong with asking advice, but I wouldn't do it on social media. And, you know, you got to understand that the decision is ultimately yours. So it doesn't matter how much advice you garner. You need to be honest with yourself as if you're looking for actual advice or if you're just looking for an echo chamber. Because that echo chamber shit is generally pointless and it's a great way to ruin your credibility as a person. An open and honest dialogue. The father, henceforth referred to as OP, explained that he and his wife have chosen not to impose any particular religious belief on their children. Instead, they have opted for an open and honest dialogue with the aim of allowing kids to form their own opinions. Well, I mean, they're going to form their own opinions anyway. I mean, I guess the idea of you not trying to force a religion on them is it's a wholesome, well-intended action to take. But I would think because of things like atheism and like agnostic and things like that, like you're kind of pushing them into that. Like religion is just a part of the ethos of life. Like you can't. Religion is a topic wherever you go. People all around the world who've never met understand religion. So, and like letting them form their own opinions, you still need to give them something to work with. Like, there's nothing wrong with sharing this information with your kids, but I think the indoctrination fear, I don't know your grandparents, but to presume that it would be to take it all away from them to prevent them from ending up with one is what I'm trying to say. I don't think that's a good plan of action coming from a non-parent. OP wrote, my wife and I are raising our children without religion. We've taught them that it's a thing and exists and has always answered questions about it as honestly and truthfully as possible. We don't want to push one on them. Yeah, like I just said, that's like you like pushing atheism on them. Like you telling them something's there, yeah, okay. I guess that's good, but telling them that it's not God or Allah or Buddha or whatever, like telling them it's not that is like now you're leaving anyone. I don't know. I don't think I'm making a good point here. That's why it's difficult for me to articulate my thoughts, because I'm getting hung up on the point I'm trying to make is in not pushing a religion. It's like pushing a religion. And I think it's better to even have a weak stance, a weak religious belief, weak religious holding, as opposed to none. You know, it like having the light, real vanilla religious belief is just grounding enough. You know, that's how I would describe it. On the other hand, OP's parents are devout Christians and struggle to accept his parenting choices. OP made a point of noting that they love his children just as much as he does. I don't think so. I can count on one hand the people I trust with my kids, and they're on the list, he said. Yeah, I mean, well, if you got Christian parents in a Christian household, like, I mean, if you teach kids Christianity and they're not with that shit, it falls off at some point anyway. Like, at any point when you embrace a religion, I feel like you're going to reach the point where you have questions that religion cannot answer, because there is no source of information in this world that is all-encompassing and all-knowing in terms of information involving spirituality and the afterlife and all that kind of stuff, like divine beings, all that kind of stuff. Like, there is no library per se, no source of literature outside of the Bible and biblical teachings or whichever for whatever religion you prefer. You know, it's better to give them something than nothing. I'm really stretching that out into a lot more than it needs to be, but that I disagree with their decision as of this far in it. Like, in hindsight, with my life being an example, I think it would be better off. And I think restricting it from them is going to make them more curious of it. It's like every action you take is going to blow up in your face at some point. Because of OP's parents' love for their grandchildren, they struggle to refrain from trying to convert them to Christianity. They believe they're saving my children from the eternal damnation they couldn't save me from. I feel their hearts are in the right place. Well, their hearts are definitely in the right place. I don't think their hearts is in the wrong place. I don't think Christianity is a bad religion. But I think some people have taken Christianity and wiped their ass with it and like used it for profit and malicious deeds. And they've used it to use something that's supposed to be divine and holy and cleansing, and manipulated it for financial gain and for power and all kind of things. Like, we've seen it. Like, any sane, righteous person has seen those televangelists and shit on TV talk about if you just send them $10 a month, God gonna give you everything you want, all your prayers will be answered, touching people and they falling out, performing live exorcisms on stage and shit. Like, we've seen it all. And not all of it is garbage, but a big percentage of that is horse shit, bro. It's not real at all. Hold on, I gotta relight my blunt. If I can find my lighter. Despite understanding their perspective, OP's patience is withering. He went on to talk about the last time his children returned from their grandparents' house during summer. They came back almost entirely converted to Christianity. I mean, what's bad about that? What's bad about that? Like, just because people are Christian don't mean that their life is ruined, or like they don't, or that they're missing something in life. Like, if your mind is in the right place, like if you have a healthy developed mind and you understand that religion is not an end all be all to any kind of action or responsibility that's necessary to, you know, live life. If you're not looking to it as a cop out, or like, you know, if your heart is in the right place, like OP is saying, and you adopt a religion, I'm sure it's such an intoxicating and good feeling when it's like at its highest point that you want to share it with others. There was kids riding around in Vegas in dress shirts and black pants, riding bikes around, wanting to talk to people about Jesus. And it's like I'm all for it, man. I don't want to talk to you about Jesus. You know, like when it's time for me to really, you know, as an adult, redefine religion and sit down with it. At this point, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that in my life. But it's a really big subject. And it's something that if you're going to want to tackle, you're going to want to at least have a baseline level of experience with it. I will say that shit as many times as necessary. Raised Christian from birth. OP wrote, last time they visited for summer, we live in a different state from my parents. They came back speaking like we've been raising them from Christians as birth. Raising them as Christians from birth. God says this and that. Yeah, I mean, I would probably talk to my grandparents about it. But what the fuck did you expect them to do? Like, what did you really expect them to do? Your grandparents are devout Christians who seem comfortable with introducing and forwarding a religious narrative to members of their family and anyone willing and capable of listening to that information. So what did you actually expect when you sent your kids there, bro? You thought they was going to go there and not get indoctrinated? You thought that your grandparents were just going to just say they wouldn't do it again and not do it again? That just kind of, to them, it probably just seems like a test or something from God, or like, or another tribulation in the process of them getting closer to God. Like, that's how I think they would perceive it. You just want to hope the best and you deluding yourself. Just make your mind up for one, you know, just, you know, draw a line in the sand. OP went on to recall an interaction with one of his children. The child asked, "Why don't you believe in God, Daddy?" OP responded by saying, "Because he's not real, sweetie." The grandparents' influence was evident when the child countered with, "But Grandma and Grandpa say he is." Nah, you do not. Why would you say that? You said you wanted to wait for them to pick a religion on their own, but then when they tell you what you believe in God, now you fly off and you say because he's not real. That's atheism. This is exactly what I'm saying. Like, and so unless you're willing to say that you're pushing atheism on your children, are you not doing the same thing? You just don't want your kids to come up Christian because of some type of unresolved grievance that you got with your parents. And this is how it trickles down. Because you might not have had a good experience with Christianity or whatever. I don't know you. But now you think you're going to like counter influence what happened in your life through your children. I mean, I guess that's your prerogative to do so. You would hope one would do it responsibly and with some poise and some, you know, some skill to do so, some finesse. But like to sit there and tell your kid, like, no, God's not real, especially when you know your grandfather and grandmother are doing, their grandparents are going to introduce this to them. Hell, I went to private school all up until 7th grade. And like, it was my grandma's idea. My mom was okay with it. They were paying money for me to go there. Like, I didn't really enjoy it. But as an adult, I look back and it's like, I'm glad I got that foundation, like, you know, colloquially and just in my life. Like, God is in a good place for me. Like, I understand that, like, all things don't necessarily require, like, a scientific method. What the fuck was that? Holy shit. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Whoa, that thing was flying into the fire. Oh, my God, dude. Some big-ass fucking country lizard with wings just flew up on my goddamn laptop screen. Son of a bitch, dude. Yeah, it's time to move this thing indoors, man. It's looking like goddamn Steve Irwin reincarnated out here. Goddamn. Crikey. Fuck. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's accelerate this process. Holy shit. I can't wait to listen to that. The controversial ultimatum. Frustrated by the ongoing interference, OP issued an ultimatum to his parents. He warned that if they continued to disregard his wishes and boundaries, that they would no longer be allowed unsupervised visits with the children. The OP wrote, after this one, I told my parents that if they keep doing this, they won't get to see the kids with or without my wife's supervision. They told me I was being hateful and it was wrong to keep a grandchild from their grandparents just because you don't want them to hear about the Lord. Am I in the wrong? I would say, yeah, you are. You absolutely are. Like, if you have devout Christian grandparents, you should already know and understand and have either, that's just not a good enough reason to take your ball and run home with the children. That's childish. There's a lot worse things your grandparents could be trying to introduce to your kids. And this is not an endorsement for Christianity on my end at all. I'm not saying that because it's good for other people that, maybe I am biased because I grew up that way. It's certainly possible, but I think, and when I respond to this, that bias is not there. Like, I'm simply telling you to lay off. This shit is not what you making it. Oh, shit. OP's post has now over 11,000 likes and over 2,000 comments. For the most part, people felt he did nothing wrong whatsoever. They should respect how you wish to raise your children, one individual said. Like, yeah, well, they're not going to. You should respect that, like, your grandparent, you have loving grandparents in your life that at worst want to teach my child about Christianity. And, like I said, if they're not with it, that shit will fall off. People convert to Islam all the time. Like, you're already putting a period at the end of a sentence that barely has a capital letter. So I disagree with most of the internet. I think you are wrong for that shit, and you should revise that thought. Another wrote, your kids sound young. Your parents need to respect your parenting preferences, and since obviously they won't, I think it's reasonable to end any long visits like this with your parents until kids are old enough to think critically about religion or for themselves and explore their own beliefs, maybe age 12 or so. So let's just say they end up choosing Christianity as adults and they end up really liking it and it's something that's really good for them. And they figure out you tried to keep that from them. How do you think they'll feel about that? Did that shit even cross your mind? Like that this could potentially play out the way you don't want it and you'll have to deal with that or isolate and look like bitter ass bitches because your fucking kids don't want to, they being nudged. Like life consists of being nudged. You gonna get pushed in a direction you don't want to go, niggas. Look at all these motherfucking people around you. There's just so many people. So much demand. Like, what the fuck? These niggas, some potential hypocrisy. Others held mixed opinions. One person said, your parents shouldn't try to force any religion on your kids, but at the same time, you're saying that you're trying to let them make their own decision while outright telling them that God doesn't exist. Thank you. Right. I'm glad other people, I'm not the only one on this wavelength. Hell yeah. This is exactly what you're doing. Like, definite hypocrisy. Like, that was my take on it from the jump, from when I read the headline. I'm like, this is horse shit. A few people echo the aforementioned commenter. One person said, if you're telling your kids that God isn't real rather than that you don't believe in God, then you're indoctrinating them in exactly the same way that your parents want to indoctrinate your kids. Which is ultimately why I say you need to apologize to your grandparents You know, you need to have a sit down with them. You need to buy them dinner or something. Go out to the Boston market, them places, the Applebee's, something. You know, take them out. You know, at your expense. And tell them you didn't thought about it and you willing to, you know, see if they're willing to forgive you, which I'm sure if they devout Christians they are. That they would be more than happy to be a part of you and your kids' life. They're not trying to do no harm. The commenter continued, I would add that my parents did the same thing to me when I was growing up, and it severely limited my capacity to explore religion at a young age, which left me very confused growing up. It took me a long time to find religion, and that was to my detriment. See what I'm saying, man? I know what people going through. I really do. Another person recalled a situation similar to OP's. They wrote, it's really, really easy to not bring up religion while babysitting. Your parents are being awful. My mother-in-law is the same way. Keeps sending us Bible books and stuff for our son. I throw them away. Luckily, she lives way across the country and we don't have to worry about visiting. She's the type of woman who thinks all problems can be solved by praying. Yeah, man. Well, I think until, like I said, I've elaborated enough. And I think I'm just that's, you know, the point is made here. Like, religion is something that you should not, it's better to have a baseline, have some kind of foundation, because all religions offer that. So even if it's not Christianity, like, it should be something. Because kids are not, especially once they start talking and they start learning words, if your child happens to be eloquent, like, these kind of thoughts are going to arise. And to sit there and tell your kids that God ain't real when your grandparents are telling them that God is real, you throwing fuel on the fire. It's a real badass decision. Sorry, my eye. It's a real bad decision if you trying to foster a culture of, like, you know, happiness, good vibes, family, togetherness. It's just a way to make people isolate and alienate themselves from you, because you just seem angry and bitter and nobody can understand why. And I don't think you even understand why, because you're making real outrageous ass decisions and it seems like they're impulsive and you're not thinking. Let them kids see their damn grandparents. If you listen to my show even a little bit, even a couple episodes, you don't even need to guess how I feel about this shit right here. Courtesy of GB News. Fucking doctors want trans athletes in youth sports and no, quote, emphasis on who's winning. What the fuck? Here we go. Like I said, this ain't new. Like, how I feel about this is strikingly obvious. And I'm not happy about it. I haven't read this yet either, because I saw the headline and I'm just like, man, like, why is this conversation even still being had? Shut the fuck up. Man. Physicians feel trans youth should be allowed to compete in women's sport at school and college level. In America, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a law back in June that prevented transgender college athletes from competing as the gender they weren't born as. There have been a wave of 22 bans on transgender athletes at schools and colleges. But researchers at Vanderbilt University in Tennessee felt participating in sports has many benefits, with improved mental health and self-esteem among them. They put along. Alexander Sen, who works at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, wants less emphasis on, quote, who's winning, and explains his stance on the matter. I want people to just try to throw politics out. We're thinking about kids here, Dr. Sen said. Now, that's fucking weird. What? It's about the kids. Why are y'all going after kids? Like, what has LGBTQ got to do with kids, man? Kids. Like, children. Jits, nigga. What the fuck has this got to do with that? So these regulations are often K through 12, right? We start from kindergarten. How competitive is kindergarten? And why do we care if there is this little boy who is assigned female at birth who wants to play as a boy? What is fairness? They're trying to build a community and trying to fit in. The LGBTQ population is already told that they're other and they're different. Well, they are. Maybe not so much the LGB, but definitely the T and the Q. They're way different. And they keep trying to step into the spotlight as if they've always been there. And when people don't accept that shit, they want to call it genocide or use whatever buzzword, fucking hoopla stirring up ass methodology, just stupid ass shit that people buy into. We don't know if that causes a higher risk of having mental health issues, but we do see an association between being LGBTQ and having mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and high suicidal risk overall. We also know that sports activities for children are important for development, as it can affect their confidence as they find their tribe and their friends. Yeah, but that don't mean like every kid is going to play sports. Like you should know that like every kid does not vibe with sports. Every kid does not vibe with athletics. Like, so just because it's important for development, it's not like vitamins and minerals are important for development. Like you need those to grow up. Like you don't need sports to grow up. To share experiences with everyone else is part of growth and maturation. It's also shown to be beneficial to things like their physical health. It's also important for other things like reducing teenage pregnancy and school dropouts. What? What? Did you just say it's also important for reducing teenage pregnancy? So you want to make kids gay so they don't have kids as teenagers? You think it'll make them stay in school? What? Is that not outrageous? I want to make sure I'm understanding this right. So we talking about we talking about wanting to allow trans youth to compete in women's sports at the college level. And you say it's important for other things like reducing teenage pregnancy. So please correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're saying you want to make the kids gay so they don't have children. I don't even know how to respond to that. That is heinous. That is absolutely abhorrent, objectively horrifying. What? Why are you trying to make kids not fuck? Why? I'm gonna get back to this. Yeah. At the end of the day, what is most important? It is that we have kids playing and allow kids to play, or does it matter who gets a medal at a third grade competition? I think our emphasis needs to be on their health and wellness. We don't have to put so much emphasis on who's winning. Dr. Sin also, this guy's name is Dr. Sin. Dr. Sin also addresses concerns that transgender athletes would have an advantage, insisting that there's no conclusive evidence on that just yet. Nope, that's dead. We're not entertaining that shit. That is bullshit. We are not sitting here talking about that there is no evidence of trans women, DNA niggas, men switching over to the women's sport and absolutely fucking dominating them. We got plenty of evidence of it. We got eyes, nigga. The fuck you mean ain't no evidence? Bitch, it's evidence right here. Pick your sport. Like the Miss Italy pageant, like had to put a crackdown on this shit and make it so you had to be a biological woman to win a pageant. After like Miss Netherlands or Miss Amsterdam or some shit like that. One of them European nations, they a transgender won one of their female pageants. Miss Italy was like, hell no. We ain't with them shits at all. We do not fuck with you the long way. And then a bunch of transgender women, transgender men, DNA women, bitches, jump in there and sign up for it, even though they're supposed to be living their life as men. So they're willing to undermine their entire ideology and lifestyle and way of life for a motherfucking pageant that only wants to allow women. Then you want to be a woman. You want to pick when you want to be a woman, but then still live your life as a man. Tell me how that house of cards can stand. Nigga, a baby could sneeze from 100 kilometers away and topple that shit. Fuck out of here, nigga. Some research has found that trans women are superior to, and the article says cis women. This isn't Chico saying cis. This is this article. Some research has found that trans women are superior to cis women because of certain strength and speed measures. What? You mean being a man? But the problem with that is that it doesn't translate to sports performance. It's not like you squat more and that translates to you jumping higher, or you could do a heavier bench press so you can throw things further. But the problem with this is that it doesn't translate to sports performance. How does it not? Sports are inherently physical, and we talking about like contact or like high intensity athletics, like running, jumping, throwing, lifting, wrestling, all that kind of shit. So you saying certain strength and speed measures is what makes trans women superior to women, but it doesn't translate to sports performance? How does it not translate to sports performance? You already got them doing it in MMA, you got them doing it in surfing, they're doing it in cycling, they're doing it in fucking swimming, they're doing it in rugby. It's happening everywhere. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Seriously. You hoeing your life on the entire platform that is your life. You hoeing your whole life. These are also techniques and other parts that play into it, because otherwise the strongest person would just win all the medals, and that's not true. False. That premise does not set up that conclusion. To say that, like, otherwise the strongest person would just win all the medals, and that's not true. That does not disprove the inherent advantages that DNA men posing as women and women face, poorly usually, don't have a physical advantage. Like, how do you not have a physical advantage after being a male your entire life and you've been female for like 3 years just because you took some hormones? Like, that's not to say that it doesn't have some effect, but like, not no kind of effect to dumb you down and make you suddenly on a competitive playing level as women. Like, you have a larger wingspan, you have like more hemoglobin in your blood cells to carry oxygen from the heart. Like, get the fuck out of here. Shut the hell up, you full of shit ass, imposter, lying ass pieces of shit. The other thing we talk about too is, yes, we look at how trans females went through male puberty, let's say. They have a bigger skeletal frame. They have bigger muscles and things like that because they developed that way because of sexual dimorphism. That's just outright false. That's just a lie. That is a complete fabrication of one's imagination. This does not have any bearing, any kind of semblance, any appearance in life whatsoever. This is fairy tale nonsense. This is stupid shit. Sexual dimorphism? Let's look that up, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck is sexual dimorphism? Let's look at that shit real quick. I'm not finna keep listening to these people spew this horse shit and not have the proper weapon to counter that shit with. What is sexual? Oh god, not Archdale. Sexual. Yeah, okay. You can't type in sexual on this shit. Sexual dimorphism. Sexual dimorphism is the systematic difference in form between individuals of different sex in the same species. What? The systematic difference in form between individuals of different sex. For example, in some species, including many mammals, the male is larger than the female. In others, such as some spiders, the female is larger than the male. Okay, so they basically attributing the fact that, like the fact that some females are bigger than the males in other species, that translates over to humans. So they're verifying they're verifying the capability of the fact that men are empirically larger, stronger, much more ardent physical beings than women. They're saying that's invalid because there are other species where the female is the larger and bigger one, and it's such a that's a plywood ass argument, man. That shit is styrofoam as fuck. That's stupid. I'm mad I had to sit here and process that shit. They have a bigger scale. Oh, yeah. But if you have them undergo hormone therapy, we take away the muscle strength to a certain degree, and that will translate to the same kind of advantage. You have a bigger frame, but your muscles are now not designed for that frame. Now, whatever shit you talking about does not change muscles. Like, it doesn't just give you female muscles. They're male muscles. They're always going to be male muscles. I don't give a fuck how many hormones you take. You can't just turn cow meat into deer meat. It doesn't work that way. You can't just chop it up a certain way. Oh, but now it's venison. Like, no. And there are a lot more nuances in this. There are a lot more barriers for trans athletes to break through. No, it's not. What they need to do is sit the fuck down. Sit the fuck down and stop trying to validate your existence through women's spaces. You fucking stop that shit. Y'all got far more than you should have got from this shit. Far more. And every experience I have with one of these people is like, I can see you, they're damn near all of them are just deeply fucked up on some kind of level that I'm not qualified or interested in servicing and appeasing to. Like, fuck that shit. The answer is no. I'm all about you living your life. I'm all about you being you and all that shit. I'll sit down and I'll talk to you. I ain't judging you. But, like, to the extent that all of them share some kind of, they got common, it's all tied into some type of sexual display. It's like a grandstanding sexual display. Like, it's always an air of something sexual to it. And I know that based on my attraction with him. Like, it's sexual. Like, I can't be friends with none of y'all. It's difficult. Because I can't get a consistent read on you. Like, sometimes I see the female in you. Sometimes I see the nigga in you. Like, I see it. I've been around way enough of these people to have a very, very accurate and deserved seat at the table. And maybe one day when I can profit off of it, I'll really break down that shit for any fucking naysayers out there. I done been there and done that shit, man. There's only so many cookies in that jar before that shit just ain't worth sticking your hand in no more. Unless you just want to pay to put your hand in glass jars. Like, it's bankrupt in damn near all of the cases. Like, it's real hard to fucking, oh shit. Oh, it was more article left. I fucked up. Let me get back to that real quick. Where did I leave off? Yeah, I said there are a lot more nuances in this, a lot more barriers for trans athletes to break through. I'm sorry, I thought the damn article was over. Shit. Athletes are not only about numbers, strength, speed, and coordination. There's also the mentality and psyche of the athlete. Okay. Way to draw a pointless distinction and try to use equivocation to make it sound profound. Athletes are not only about numbers and strength and speed and coordination. There's also the mentality and the psyche of the athlete. Like, the mentality and the psyche. So you're talking about their mind state and their state of mind? like, bro, what the fuck? Shut up. Stop talking. Stop perping. Have a seat. And put these handcuffs on you and haul your ass off to prison where the fuck you belong. Because you a satanic ghoul. Your ass is repulsive. Spreading these lies openly like it's fact. Like, you have no regard for anything true. Your entire paradigm is built on temporary nonsense. So I think being able to break through the barriers and being able to access sports and being able to advocate for themselves to get a spot there also means a lot, could play a role in why someone might be a better athlete. Bullshit. You don't believe that. It was recently claimed that Leah Thomas had received preferential treatment because of being a trans athlete. So they talk about how all these trans people out here dying and shit. But everywhere you go, you see a damn pride flag hanging up somewhere. You see somebody supporting pronouns and shit. So tell me exactly, like, how that's not preferential treatment. Y'all got pride flags at the White House. When the fuck did the White House hung up an African flag or some shit like that during Black History Month? If it happens, then I'm wrong, but I don't recall seeing it. Not on the same grand stage as LGBTQ to get to casinos in Vegas was changing the colors of the fucking titles of their casinos to rainbow and shit. They didn't do it that much this year, but they did it a lot the year before. A sports coach who criticized a 24-year-old for being allowed to compete against women also claimed she was stoned and hanged for her views. Yep, I just reported about her either episode before last or the doubleheader. I forget her name. It's not coming to me right now, but I think it was a British woman. There are believed to be around 300,000 13 to 17-year-olds in the U.S. that are transgender, which works out at roughly 1.7% of the entire high school population. 1.7%. That might not sound like a lot. But what? 10% of 300,000, 30. 10% of 10%, 3. That's 3,000. 3,000, what's that? In the U.S., it works out at roughly 1.7%. Oh, that 1.7% is okay. No, I was doing the wrong math on that statistic. Okay. But anyway, man, like I said, my position on this has never wavered. It never will waver. I will never be a politician. It will be way too easy to find a picture of my ass on the internet or some shit and like disqualify me from that role or just force me into having some discussions that I would rather not have, but would. Because I genuinely and honestly don't give a fuck about 99.9% of the opinions of these worthless to me individuals on this planet. I just don't. And I'm probably in somebody else's 99.9% bracket. That's okay. I'm fine with that. But what I'm not fine with is these nobodies popping up on the scene magically like somebody rubbed a lamp and just trying to change the fabric of life, trying to change biological norms, trying to change lore and the culture and trying to dismantle tradition. That's obviously what it is because they don't like the tradition. They don't like how savage people used to be, basically to live. But they would never survive in an era like that. Their existence on this planet is a result of human productivity and civilization and advancement. You've only been born into a civilization this good because it was this good. We turned life into something, an experience of convenience and leisure and fucking just hedonistic pursuits. And now we got people hashtagging everything, breaking their hands off in TikTok trends and shit. Fucking walking off of bridges because 300,000 people liked and followed somebody who did it on TikTok. They always say, well, you saw somebody walk off a building, would you follow? I say I'm going to do it on TikTok, so hell yeah, I'm going to follow them. On TikTok and over the edge of the bridge to my briny death. Like I said, man, if it's any argument that should really take not much data to convince you that this is absolutely criminal, this is outright unacceptable, and there is no logical, pragmatic way of finding a solution that will allow us to not have to talk about this shit or allow it to not deteriorate or cause so much controversy. That doesn't exist. But this is just so obvious. Keep these people out of women's sports. How can you say you care about women and you don't support keeping them out of these sports? I support women. I understand how hard female athletes work, even if I'm not interested in watching them. I don't really care to see male athletes half the time anymore. But it's a real scourge that's going to blow up in the face of all these women. I think all these women who openly support this shit so fervently don't really be around the ones that make that sensation obvious. Like, it's some of them, you kind of got to get to know them and realize that for a couple months they had their power turned off, and like living in the dark changed them forever. That's a euphemism. Like, something ain't right upstairs. It's just not. And this is coming from somebody who did it, who is right upstairs, at least now. That's the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We ain't watching yet, but I hope to get us watching real soon. What did I say? Yeah, I'm gonna stop telling you guys when I'm gonna make a new episode. Like, I'm gonna try to do 3 a week. I said the days I'm gonna try to do it on, but I just feel like an asshole saying I'm gonna make an episode on a certain day. Then life gets in the way and I don't. And, you know, I'm really hammering down on trying to find the balance in my life and take things seriously, because I don't really want to be on thin ice, and I don't have to be on thin ice. I just gotta, get my shit together upstairs. So yeah, I'm bringing things to you. I don't really think I have anything else to say regarding that. As always, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. Episode 44. It's been a fun ride. Let's keep it going. Until next time, I'll holler at you.